and welcome to Most Marvelous NYC, the podcast where licensed New York City tour guides use their experience to help you navigate the ins and outs of New York City so you can have your very best travel experience. We're your hosts, both licensed New York City tour guides. I'm Megan.
And I'm JT.
And we're going to get into it.
So this is a big topic. I think we say that every episode, but we're going to talk about one of the things that I think a lot of people show up to New York City and have on their list. And it's often like right up on top. What are we going to talk about today?
Today, we're going to talk about how to visit the Statue of Liberty. And the thing about this topic is it's something that I feel a lot of guests believe is a very simple topic. And it should be a very simple topic, but visiting the Statue of Liberty is all about logistics and planning ahead. And
how far ahead do you think you have to plan?
Well, it depends on the Statue of Liberty experience that you want to have, and we will get into that.
The answer is crazy. Stay tuned.
But something that both of us have done, we've both been to the Statue of Liberty hundreds of times.
I've definitely been more on Liberty Island more than 100 times. How about you? I mean, you must be. Are you up to 1,000 yet?
I might be up to 1,000. It's one of my
you need a medal for that.
It's one of my specialty tours, going to Statue of Liberty, and Ellis Island is a passion of mine. That's sort of for a different topic, but
you like the statue too. I mean, you are really weirdly in love with the Statue of Liberty. Maybe it's not so weird.
I am in love with the Statue of Liberty. So I have worked for a tour company that only does Statue of Liberty tours. They're sort of these high volume tours, and I've gone to the Statue of Liberty with them as many as 5 times a week. I also have a boutique tour company that does customized private bespoke tours where we take small groups to the Statue of Liberty. If you would like to take one of those, you can visit my website, mostmarveloustours.com, to book one of those. And both JT and I have worked with student groups that always want to go to Statue of Liberty, senior groups as well. So we have a lot of experience taking groups of all different sizes and experiences and comfort levels with New York City to the Statue of Liberty. And something that we've both observed, I imagine, is that there's a lot of logistics that frustrate guests, that confuse guests, that might even make guests end up in tears. But fortunately, we can use our years and years of experience and problem solving and troubleshooting to help you have your most marvelous Statue of Liberty experience, so you can just enjoy how beautiful and wonderful she is.
I think we're going to talk about that too. I mean, there's definitely, we don't get ahead of ourselves. Let's start with a good question. Is there a better time to visit the Statue of Liberty than others?
This is a great question. And I feel when most people ask this, they are specifically thinking about what time of year would be best to visit the Statue of Liberty. And in my opinion, the question really shouldn't be what time of year, because I think the statue is wonderful every time of year. Even in like the really cold winter months, it tends to be emptier and there's something really wonderful about that.
This is where your crazy comes out. And I mean, I think there's some slight differences in terms of during the year. And it's one of the things about being prepared. So in the winter, and I tell people this all the time, it is always colder and always windier out on the islands.
This is very
always
important
colder,
to know.
always windier.
I tell everybody, no matter
chill
what
wind
time of year
blows across the harbor.
If the weather says that it's going to be 40 degrees, you need to dress for 30 degrees because you have a lot of wind coming in from the water. The Statue of Liberty,
as the meteorologists say, it's
island.
The wind chill.
Yes. So just be prepared and definitely check the weather. But I do think that every time of year, the Statue of Liberty
in
is
the summer,
open.
you're out in the sun a lot. We're going to talk about the logistics. You are out in the open a lot. And if you don't have your sunscreen, I went out one, I brought a group out once and I forgot my sunscreen. It was going to be a cloudy day and the weather changed and I got burnt.
So you do have to be prepared for whatever time of year that you are traveling to the Statue of Liberty. But I think that the more important question,
I like the fall,
is
I'm not going to let Megan answer this question.
What time of day do you go? What time of day is possibly the most
I
important
like to sleep
part?
in. So is 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock a good time?
Absolutely not.
Noon? How about noon?
Absolutely not. Listen, I am not a morning person.
No, you are
For
not.
me, the least wonderful part about giving the only actually thing that I don't like about giving Statue of Liberty tours is that I have to wake up so early. And the reason for this is the time that you want to go to the Statue of Liberty is as early in the morning as possible.
First boat is the goal.
First boat is the goal, possibly the second boat, possibly the third boat. By the time you get to that fourth boat, your experience is going to start to be diminished because there's going to be long lines that build up throughout the day. We're going to talk more about the reasons why
What
a
are
little
those
bit
lines
later.
about?
We have crazy lines that build up throughout the day. And also the islands do tend to close relatively early. So
that's a surprise for a lot of people. They are getting people off the island because they want to close at 5.
Yeah.
Right. So they want people off the island. So you got to get an early start. And can I sort of throw something in here?
Please.
I think when you are looking at this in terms of your own personal schedule for your itinerary, is that you want it to be a morning that it's easy for you to get up early. And I think that you want your afternoon to have a degree of flexibility.
Don't plan to see a matinee. This is actually a huge mistake because don't
plan for an early afternoon flight.
We're going to get into how long it will take to visit the Statue of Liberty in just a little bit. But I totally agree with JT that you want to have a lot of flexibility. Both of us have had guests and groups that had early afternoon flights and had to catch matinees. And the whole experience ends up being really, really panicked because the timing can be a little wonky. And we'll talk about why again in a little bit. But just know early in the morning and on a day with flexibility. That's a really good suggestion.
We've been hinting at this. Can you walk to the statue? Can you take a subway to the statue? Can you take a helicopter? I see a lot of helicopters. Megan, I know you know a lot about helicopters. Can you take a helicopter to the statue?
So right now, JT is really poking fun at me because my very first viral video on social media was all about helicopters, or rather, it did not include helicopters as a way of getting from JFK
you
Airport
didn't even know that helicopters exist
to Manhattan. But this is actually really important. To get to the Statue of Liberty, there is only one way. Only one way. There is no other way. It does not matter if you are a celebrity. It does not matter if you are Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. You are taking this one mode of transportation to the Statue of Liberty, and that is Statue City Cruises. It is a boat. There are other boats that go near the Statue of Liberty.
And there are reasons why you might want to go near. But there's only one company that will get you on. And it's very funny because there is a little bit of we talked about this earlier, there is a little bit of a scam scene. And some people will say that you can go by the statue, you can go to the statue, and technically you can go to the water in front of the statue and see the statue very clearly. And so not technically a lie. Not technically.
This was one of the very first tours that I ever gave, was working on a tour boat that went around the island of, well, it didn't go all the way around the island of Manhattan, but it went around lower Manhattan, midtown Manhattan, and it stopped in front of the Statue of Liberty.
Great views. I think I did that job too.
You did. And
I love
you
that.
do get phenomenal photographs, but we ended up with so many
So many
guests
people.
In literal tears because they ended up buying their ticket from somebody standing on the street. And they asked, does this boat go to the Statue of Liberty? Which honestly is the question that I would ask. I would ask, does this boat go to the Statue of Liberty? And the man in the vest says, yes, it goes to the Statue of Liberty. And they get on the boat, they buy the ticket from this man in the vest, and they realize that to the Statue of Liberty meant stops in front of, so you can take photos and not drops you off on the island. And I feel that there's no way, like if I was not a tour guide, I'm sure that I would just ask people, hey, I want a boat that goes to the Statue of Liberty. Does this boat go to the Statue of Liberty? It wouldn't occur to me in my wildest dreams that I have to ask, does this boat dock at the Statue of Liberty and let you off to walk around the island?
Yeah.
And people would be asking for refunds. They'd be saying, but it was a man in a vest. It was a man in a vest. And I cannot stress this enough. The most important thing.
Don't trust a man in a vest or a woman in a vest.
You want to buy, in my opinion, you really want to buy your tickets direct. You can go to the Statue City Cruises website to purchase those tickets. You can also buy them at Castle Clinton. I think we have a whole topic about how to buy those tickets, but just know that Statue City Cruises, a boat, is how you actually get to the Statue of Liberty Island, where you can walk off and enjoy the island.
Yeah, and some people might have heard that Hornblower, which is the parent company of this boat line, has declared bankruptcy. And people say, oh, maybe there's a different boat. And I'm sure if I were one of those scammers, I'd be telling you, oh, didn't you hear they went bankrupt? It's a reorganization. They are still operational. There is nothing that has changed in terms of the boat that's going to get you there. How many places are there to get this boat to Liberty Island?
That's a great question. So there are 2 places where you can actually pick up this boat. One of those locations is in Manhattan in Battery Park, and the other location is in Liberty State Park,
Liberty
New Jersey.
State Park. Yep, just outside Jersey City.
My guess is that most people listening to this podcast are going to want to get the boat from Manhattan. And this can be very tricky, not finding the location, but when you're buying your ticket online from the Statue City Cruises website, you actually get to pick your point of departure. And for me, I don't know if this is the case for everybody, but it really wants me to pick New Jersey. So you just have to make sure that you select Manhattan as your point of departure. New Jersey, if you're staying in New Jersey, I think unless you have a car, it's kind of hard to get.
It's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. There's not great public transportation. There is a tiny little ferry that will take you. I generally think that unless you're a school group coming from New Jersey should not really be an option for the 99% of visitors to New York City. You can just almost forget that those New Jersey boats exist, except when you're picking up a boat on Liberty Island or on Ellis Island. You do not want to get on the Jersey boat because it's going to take you in the wrong direction.
This is something that we as tour guides say a lot. A lot of times if you take a tour to Liberty Island and Ellis Island, the tour will end on one of the islands. And part of the theory for that is so that you can have free time to enjoy the island as much as you want at the end of the actual guided tour section. But we always have to stress,
Make
remember,
sure you get on the New York boat.
There is a boat that goes to New York and a boat that goes to New Jersey. So yes, for most people, you are going to be getting onto the boat from Battery Park in Manhattan. There's a whole bunch of subway lines that go there. I usually take the one, the South Ferry, is it the R and the W, the N and the W?
Yeah, there's a ton of subway lines that converge. It is the very southern tip of the island. And when you get there, one of the things that you're going to see is there's a lot of construction going on. There's, as a result of Superstorm Sandy, there's a lot of flood prevention construction happening across Battery Park. So if you've been to the statue previously, up until A month ago, it was a very different experience of where you needed to be. Now things are changing a little bit.
Yes, this is something to be very, very aware of. They are, as JT mentioned, doing the flood prevention to adapt for climate change in case another flood comes. And as a result, most of the entrances, as we are recording this in March of 2024, most of the entrances to Battery Park are closed. Right now, there's only really one entrance, and we have a whole section where we're going to talk specifically about Statue of Liberty scams, because I find that people really like to take advantage of people who are hoping to go to the statue.
Because of the confusion. There's a lot of confusion that comes from this.
But something to be aware of is, as you are going through these like very narrow entrances to Battery Park currently, there will be people in vests who are telling you that they are who you want to buy the ticket from. I've seen them corralling people outside of Battery Park where they're standing in a very long line to buy what might not even be a ticket to Statue City cruises. It might be
most likely not.
So
there's two places that you need to know where to go. And that's part of the other confusion, is that one of the spots that you need to be is your security line. And another spot that you need to be is potentially purchasing tickets the day of, or getting materials if you have purchased a kind of an extra package.
So where do we actually buy these tickets? Let's say that I'm trying to buy tickets.
Online.
So I would say that the number one thing is to buy your tickets online direct from the Statue City Cruises website. That is my favorite way. That is the easiest way. That is going to be the fastest way. But if for some reason you want to buy them in person, you again want to go direct. You don't want to go to the people in vests. So you want to go into Battery Park. On the kind of southwest side of Battery Park, there is a red brick building. It kind of looks like a pancake. It's called Castle Clinton. It's named for everyone's very favorite Clinton, DeWitt Clinton.
DeWitt.
Woohoo! DeWitt Clinton. He was our mayor during the War of 1812. He put Manhattan on the grid system. Very cool guy.
He was DeWitt.
He was DeWitt. So if you go into Castle Clinton, you'll notice that it is part of the National Park Service. And you go into Castle Clinton, and there will be lines where you can purchase your tickets direct. If you did happen to purchase something such as City Pass or New York Pass, and you need to convert your ticket into some sort of a physical ticket, you would do that from Castle Clinton. Do not be diverted by the guys in vests. They may seem like they have authority, but they do not.
They do not. Nobody outside of Castle Clinton is going to be able to help you get the right ticket. I think that's just the bottom line.
Yeah, if they're not wearing a National Park Service outfit, Castle Clinton's part of the National Park Service.
Yeah.
Like you want a National Park Service ranger. Or
you want someone who looks like a ranger, dressed in the khaki, dressed in the green. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to help.
Now, since we are talking about ticket buying, can I wake up in the morning and just be like, "Ooh, it's a nice day. I'm going to go to the Statue of Liberty," or do I need to plan way ahead?
Right. So that's a great question, because there is a possibility you can go to Castle Clinton. And I guess one of the only reasons why you would want to wait until the last minute is if you are anxious that the weather is going to be bad. If for some reason you're made of sugar and you're going to melt if it rains. And so you want to wait until the morning of, see the weather forecast is good, and then you're going to go to Castle Clinton and buy your ticket in person. But if you want to do something like go into the Pedestal, I think it is extraordinarily rare to be able to show up day of and get Pedestal access unless it's January, right? January 12th, maybe that's the magic day. You might be able to.
Oh, I had like 6 tours running this January 9th. It was a
Oh,
Tuesday
well,
and it
never
was raining.
mind.
But I think you're absolutely correct. If you're going to the Pedestal, there is a chance that you can maybe get same day tickets. I would really advise at least a week in advance. You had mentioned a month in
I
advance
think for the
earlier.
Pedestal, a month. It's better safe than sorry. And we're going to talk a little bit later about the difference between Pedestal and there's another option, and that is Torch, right? You can get a ticket to the Torch.
No, you can't go to the
But
Torch.
I remember my mom told me she went up to the Torch.
This is the
She's
most
120
amazing
years
thing.
old, and she was in the Torch.
This is like the most Mandela effect thing ever. You really haven't been able to go up to the Torch for like over 100 years.
Yeah, 1916.
I think it was
1918?
1916.
It's during World War I. It is legit over 100 years.
And I do have people on my tours who, I mean, to me, they look like they're 40 and they remember, they remember being a kid and going up to the Torch. And I'm like, I need,
what
like,
are they remembering?
What is your beauty secret? But what you can do and what you have been able to do is go up to the Crown.
Oh, the Crown. So it's almost the same thing.
So the Crown, I think, is wonderful, but I do just want to say we'll talk more about how to get
Can you wake up in the morning and buy a ticket for the Crown?
You absolutely cannot wake up in the morning and buy a ticket to the Crown. And just to stress this, I would say that the least amount of planning is 3 months in advance
for the Crown.
For the Crown.
Oh, for sure.
The least. And
what if you're going in like July?
So I think that they release them. You really want to go as soon as they release them, which is between 3 and 4 months in advance. And there's really no exceptions to this. One of the things that I say is, so I am a member of the NYPD Press, and I was working with New York City Tourism, which is
these are big names,
New
folks.
York City Tourism Board. And they contacted me in March, and they wanted me to do a special on Statue of Liberty for 4th of July. And they wanted very specifically me to go up into the Crown and talk about what it's like in the Crown. And when you're in the Crown, you can see the torch and the book that the Statue of Liberty is holding. And they wanted to get footage of that. And we went to buy tickets and they were all sold out. The earliest that we could get, I think we were trying to buy the tickets in April, and the earliest that we could get was August. Maybe we were trying to get May, and the earliest we could get was August. It was ridiculous. And New York City Tourism couldn't do anything. Press Pass can't do anything. Like it does not matter. There's not exceptions. Every now and then, I don't know if they get like a return. You'll see like one ticket available for one day. So that's what ended up happening. One ticket became available. So I went up. I normally film everything with my co-creator, David, my partner, my fiance, but he had to wait at the bottom while I filmed myself. And I had the park rangers helping me film because they're just, there's no way around it. You really have to get those. And you're not going to go on to like Get Your Guide or someplace and get there. They don't have those. Sometimes like Get Your Guide, I think, to see David, something in Rome or Florence. Like you can go on to those sites, and they have, it's only through the National Park Service Statue City cruises that you can get those tickets.
And that's really important too, because a lot of times people say, oh, well, I thought that I had this extra access, and never Crown. Crown is always small groups. That's the other thing. If you have a big group, you are not doing the Crown.
Tours aren't even allowed to purchase tickets. I mean, I think that, if you're like a family of two, I feel like you might know more about this than me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the stairs. My understanding is they do not want, the way that you get up to the Crown is you go up this very tight spiral staircase, and there's not a ton of room in the Crown. How many people do you think could fit in the Crown? I mean, just estimate.
Well, I mean, maybe 10 if you're really crowding them.
Yeah.
But you also bring up an interesting point, because I remember going to the Crown as a kid, which I imagine anyone who's listening to this podcast, they might remember going up to the Crown as a kid, and they did not limit the numbers. So my biggest memory of going up to the Crown as a kid was waiting in a line on a big spiral staircase in the middle of the summer and being really, 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 really hot
and grossed out.
But like, the line is what I remember.
Yeah.
But now they limit it. I think it's to like 20 people every 20 minutes. And it's not even for the full time that the statue's open. It's like from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So they really limit the number of people that can go up. And if a tour group comes, they might end up buying up the whole thing and no one else gets a chance. And
it's a much more pleasant experience. I mean, the thing that I don't know if I've remembered this or whether it's just something that I've heard so often, it's become my memory, but you really were, when you were on the spiral staircase, it's like everybody walked a step together and you were basically stuck looking at the back of someone.
Yeah.
The lower back of someone, the back of someone just above the legs. And it was just kind of not great.
That's
and
my
now
exact memory.
You have a lot more room and you can go up in a small group. And the time that I went up, I was there and it was just me and the four people that I was with. And we had the Crown to ourselves. We had a good couple of minutes up there and then we went back down again. It was very pleasant, very easy, but you have to plan ahead for that.
Right.
All right.
So we'll talk more about the Crown in a bit, but we haven't even gotten onto the island yet. So right now we know the best time of day to go and visit. We know the
best time of year, the spring, the cherry blossoms. Oh.
We know that the boat that takes you there is Statue City Cruises.
One and only.
We know that you want to buy your ticket from the Statue City Cruises website or Castle Clinton. And we know that if you just want to go to the island, you might be able to just like wake up the morning of and buy your ticket online or from Castle Clinton. If you want to go to the Pedestal, you're going to want to plan about a week to a month in advance. And if you want to go to the Crown, that's several months, 3 to 4 months.
I mean, Pedestal, you could plan earlier.
That is true.
But if you think that you're going to show up, chances are very slim.
So what is the next thing we need to think about in terms of our logistics?
So what is the deal with the Pedestal? I mean, I actually think that's what we're up to at this point.
So there are, in my opinion, maybe it's not even opinion, I think it just is a fact. There are 3 different Liberty Island experiences that you can have. There's what's known as the grounds. When you are purchasing your ticket, you can select grounds. And
that's more than you might think.
Yes, the grounds includes, the ground that the Statue of Liberty is standing on. So that's Liberty Island.
In case you've never touched grass.
And it also includes a free museum. Then you have a Pedestal ticket.
I love the museum, by the way. If you don't do the Pedestal, if you don't get the Crown, the museum is fantastic.
I actually, unless you're a huge Statue of Liberty junkie like me, I love the statue. But if it's not, your dream to go to the Pedestal or the Crown.
If you're a statue grouch like me, the museum is great.
The museum is more than enough for most people. And like we do large tour groups, we tend to.
And the museum used to be in the Pedestal.
It did.
And you used to have to get that special ticket and you used to have to go through the extra layer of security just to do the museum. And then the National Park Service built this fantastic museum, took all of the best artifacts out of the Pedestal and put it open free to every single person who has a grounds pass, which I think is brilliant. And can we even say, they have this fantastic movie. It's this big screen movie that tells the whole story and all of these incredible artifacts. They show you like physically how the statue is built. You can touch a replica of the statue's face. You can see how thin the copper actually is. And then you can do this cool thing where you get your face put up on this big screen of all the people who have come to visit, which I think is a lot of fun too.
And speaking of putting your face on a big screen.
Yeah, if you wanted to put your face on another big screen, say in Times Square, the crossroads of the world. How could you do that, Megan?
Right now, we are coming to you from the Welcome to Times Square studio. They are the sponsor for this podcast. Welcome to Times Square owns a giant billboard at 47th Street and 7th Avenue, right by the TKTS Red Steps.
Right in the heart of Times Square.
And their passion is really making it affordable for people and businesses to be able to get exposure on a giant Times Square billboard at an affordable rate. So you can put your photo, a loved one's photo, your business or your brand's photo on this Times Square billboard.
Could I put my dog's photo?
You could put your dog's photo. And actually, you
This is
can
all
even
imaginary. I don't have a dog.
you can even do video now as well. So
Could
you
I
can
put a video of my imaginary dog?
You could put a video of your imaginary dog. If you're a graphic artist, you could do some sort of graphic or animated video, anything that is, kind of
For
G-rated.
only $1,000.
It's not $1,000.
$500.
It's not $500. It starts at $150. And what this package gets you is your photo or video will be shown 24 times a day for a 24-hour period, and every time that it is shown,
But all in the middle of night, right?
No,
all at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Once an hour.
Even with the $150 package.
Correct. Even with the $150 package, and it shows for 15 seconds, which is a lot of time to get great footage if you want to post it on your social media. And I just think it would be great after a Broadway show to go and see it, after dinner. We've had a bunch of birthdays that people have really loved.
But so what happens if you miss the 15-second window? Is there a place in Times Square that you could go to? Could you go and get something to eat?
Yeah.
And then come back again and see it again if you missed it? Is there for example, a Krispy Kreme?
There is a Krispy Kreme. You can go get their Big Apple donut. There's a Los Tacos Numero Uno. There's
That's
a
even
Raising
better.
Cane's. There's lots of great food. I'm a big fan of the Brooklyn Diner around the corner. But if you are interested in booking this billboard, visit timesquarebillboard.com and learn more about how you can put your photo at the crossroads of the world.
It's a great opportunity. So let's talk about what you would be getting with that pedestal access. What do you see in the pedestal now that there's not a museum there?
So as we mentioned, there's the 3 ticket tiers. So there's the ground, then there's the pedestal. And the pedestal, for me, inside the pedestal, the one thing that's really worth it is they have the plaque that has the Emma Lazarus poem, The New Colossus, on it. Which I find a lot of people really associate with the Statue of Liberty, even though it was not on the original statue. But people gotta take a tour to learn about why. But that for me is the real gem of being in the pedestal. The second gem
this is the thing that I like. I mean, I love the Emma Lazarus, but my big thing that I love is being able to look inside the statue. There's sort of a naughty way of saying that because you are inside the dress of the statue.
We do not condone looking up women's skirts, but when it comes to the Statue of Liberty, when you get to the top of the pedestal, inside at the very top of the pedestal, you can indeed look up the Statue of Liberty skirt.
There's a glass floor. And so what are you looking at? Because I think most people think that the statue, I don't want to give away too many secrets, but most people think the statue made out of copper is just a giant solid chunk of $70 million worth of copper.
So she's hollow like an Easter bunny. And when you look up her skirt, you get to see what I call her bones, which it kind of looks like the Eiffel Tower. And there's a reason that it kind of looks like the Eiffel Tower. It did come before the Eiffel Tower, but it was designed by Gustave Eiffel.
So did we actually have the first Eiffel Tower?
I think we did.
We had our
proto. We had our
Take that,
prototype.
Paris.
But this is this is the way that you get to see her actual bones, which is really cool. And if you get to the top of the pedestal and you know are having a hard time finding the little like glass areas where you get to peer up, there are park rangers
The rangers
there.
are going to help you.
They are very friendly. They're going to help you. And then
I think that infrastructure inside the statue, to me, honestly, is one of the most fascinating aspects about her. And there's a model in the museum, and you can see how it's put together, but to actually like view it with your own eyes at scale. And I mean, there's some fun stuff. You have to walk up the stairs. The elevator takes forever and is tiny inside.
Yes, this is actually very, very, very important. So there is an elevator. It is wonderful. It is ADA compliant. But if you are somebody who can walk upstairs,
Please walk up the stairs.
it's going to save you literal hours. And at the end, you can eat as much pizza as you want because you will have burned all the calories.
How many stairs is it? Is it 150 something?
I don't know. It's a lot of stairs.
It's like 158
150.
stairs, 154.
But you will have burned all your calories for the day, and you can listen to our podcast about food for pizza recommendations.
Oh yes,
You will
cheesecake. You can have that slice of
burned
cheesecake
it.
guilt-free.
But please, please, please leave the elevator for people who need it. It is
Mhm.
there to be ADA compliant. There are people who need it. It breaks my heart when I see people waiting like hours in line while people who don't need it are
Mhm.
and
Are not
and
taking it.
honestly it's just taking up so much time for
And
everybody else.
If you go on the stairs, the cool thing is that you're going to see there's some of these pieces of metal that look like they're using like screws that the wrench, just envisioning the size of the wrench, it looks like a wrench that King Kong would need to use. It's gigantic. Some of the infrastructure is just kind of mind-blowing. And for me, that's the fun thing.
Yes, style too.
It's very stylish, but you do have to go through security again. And if you have anything besides a phone and like I think a plastic bottle of water, basically, that's all you can bring in. Everything else has to go into a locker, which you need a quarter for. And you have to like run all over to find a quarter if you don't have one. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt. And so that's just an extra layer, right? You're going to get the extra ticket. It doesn't cost anymore to get pedestal access, but it does cost you in terms of time.
And this is very important where you mention that you're going to have to go through a second level of airport style security to get into the pedestal and the crown. They have different allowances for both the crown and the pedestal. Both of them do not allow backpacks, which
Correct.
would get me into a lot of trouble as
Me
a tour
too.
guide, because that meant that I would have to go and use a locker while sometimes other people in my group were just annoyed at having to wait for me. And I would always have to carry around extra quarters as a tour guide. So make sure that you bring a quarter, and even things such as an iPad. I feel like the rules about what you can and cannot bring are always changing.
It's a little like being at the airport.
Right.
Are
So
my
you
shoes
just-
on this time? Is my belt in? Is it this?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just a couple things because it is airport style security. So food, when you're going onto the boats, they don't care about food. They don't care about beverages. They do care about alcohol. They do care about illicit drugs. They do care about taking your belt off and taking your jacket off and taking your hat off and any of those other things. If you have a knife, if you have pepper spray or mace, if you have a gun, you need to not have that.
And amplifiers, any sound amplifiers. So
Portable
if you have
speakers.
portable speakers,
If you have like a lot of the kids these days
yeah,
carry around those portable speakers, the Bluetooth speakers. Yeah, the JBL. That's because that's the kind that I have. I'm not a kid, but still. So if you have a portable speaker, National Park Service, I guess, is sort of afraid that you're going to use them to start like a protest or a riot. So you got to leave those at home. You want to travel minimally, but prepared at the same time, which is that weird kind of like conflict.
yes. So know that if you're going to the pedestal, you are going to have to go through that second layer of security. I find that a lot of people, when they're going up to the pedestal, they're really going for the view. In my opinion, if you are going for the view, there are better options for you for views. You aren't actually that high on top of the pedestal.
No.
And your view is really of like Governor's Island and Red Hook, Brooklyn, and Liberty, New Jersey.
It's a fine view, but you are extremely crowded and it is extremely slow going.
Yes. So I would recommend
And windy.
I would recommend if you're going for the view, go to one of the observation decks. If you're going to like see the Emma Lazarus plaque, if you're going to look up the Statue of Liberty's skirt, it is absolutely
weirdo.
worth it. But that brings us to the crown. The crown is its own egg. And JT had asked me if I think the crown is worth it right before we started.
Because I'm a statue grump. I've been to the statue probably over 100 times. I've stopped doing it. The logistics I can handle. I bring groups there. I typically only bring groups there. And I know how to do it. And it's just, for me, it's very limited. I have a couple of people who I will do it for, and they know who they are.
Am I one of them?
You are not. I know.
Well, you won't get to book a JT.
That's how
Statue
grouchy I
of
am
Liberty
about
tour.
it.
But I do want to answer.
Do you think it's worth it?
Whether
crown?
or not I think the crown is worth it. So the crown, in my opinion, is worth it if you love the Statue of Liberty, if you love history, if you love architecture. I think you're going to get a lot out of visiting the crown. It's really, really cool to see. I mean, you were really face to face with Eiffel's infrastructure. You get to see like the Statue of Liberty's eyeball from behind the copper. I'm so excited.
You don't get to look through her eyeball, do you?
You don't get to look through her eyeball, but it's like you get to see like the curls of her hair.
Yeah, you get to
from
see
the
everything
inside.
in like reverse.
Oh my goodness. It is. I almost cried when I went up there for the first time after they like reopened it.
As an adult.
And I just thought it was so magnificent. However, if you are going again for the view.
Nope.
The view, well, there's some cool things about the view because when you're looking out of her crown, you get to look down and you get to see the Statue of Liberty's holding a tablet.
Yep.
And you get to look up and you get to see her torch.
That
and
is
it's pretty
true.
close. But
that is true.
But if again, that's like you're really into the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Like, you want to see her tablet and her torch up close. If you are going for the glorious panoramic expansive views,
we have a lovely episode about observation decks that you should check out because that's really what you should do.
Precisely. It's way too much planning, way too much hassle, way too much time to go to the crown of the Statue of Liberty for the view. And if you were just doing it, so one of the things that I think we both think is when you're on vacation, you should be selfish. It is your vacation. Yes. If you are somebody who wants to sleep in until 1 p.m. every single day, it is your vacation. Do not be like, I'm supposed to go to the Statue of Liberty. I have to wake up at 6 a.m. No, it is your vacation. If it is something that you're just doing because you feel there's a lot of peer pressure or you have to do it, or
I think I'm supposed to because I'm in New York.
Right. Then it is so much planning. It is kind of a lot of stress. It's going to take up at least 4 hours of your day to get up to that crown. There is no elevator to go up to the crown. You do have to walk up the stairs.
I think the crown you're going to add even more time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my general thoughts are the Statue of Liberty experience. If you're just doing Liberty Island, it's like 3 hours.
Yes, I think you can do it in a minimum, like the least amount of time that I would ever give for Statue of Liberty is 3 hours, which is interesting because I get a lot of tour requests and a lot of hotel concierges call me.
Can we do this in an hour and a half?
Yeah, they say the guest only wants 90 minutes and you literally can't. I mean, you can do an hour-long cruise that goes in front of the Statue of Liberty. But in terms of giving a tour in 90 minutes, just the boat ride, just the boat ride. The boat, it docks, it departs from Battery Park. It goes to Liberty Island. It then docks at Ellis Island. There's no way of skipping that. You really have to do Battery Park, Liberty Island, Ellis Island, back to Battery Park. That loop takes an hour. So just
just on its own.
just that takes an hour. So you really don't have time to get off of the boat, explore Liberty Island, and then get back onto
online.
the boat. And that's not including security at the beginning. So really, by the time you get to 90 minutes, you've gone through security and you've taken the boat ride.
Yeah. And to get through the extra layer of security for Pedestal or Crown, you're adding at least an hour, if not an hour and a half. And then we just mentioned Ellis Island. There is a complete extra option where you can be going to Ellis Island. We're going to talk about that later. It's a time investment. And that is, I think I want to circle back and say it is one of those things. If you simply think that you need to do it because that's what people do in New York, you don't have to. You should be selfish. You should say, this is going to take half of my day. Ideally, I'm going to do it early in the morning. If that's not you, don't do it. But is there a way to make it less stressful?
I do think there's a way of making it less stressful.
I think so too.
That is to hire a licensed New York City tour guide.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to be 100% honest and talk to you about the tour experience to the Statue of Liberty, as again, it is one of my tour areas of expertise. If you are someone who is booking the tour because you really are hoping to go very in depth into the history, this might not be the tour for you. The reason why you want to hire a tour guide or take a guided tour of the Statue of Liberty is because you are on vacation and you have vacation brain and you don't want to have to think about all of these logistics. You want someone to have already done the logistics for you. They will have bought your ticket. They will have done the timing. They know how security works. One of the interesting things about Statue of Liberty is there are no lines. It's a clump to get onto the boat. And there are things that we call the tour guide express lanes. So if you are with a tour, they'll help you get through the big clump in the tour guide express lanes. They have everything timed out. They know the boat schedule. They know the order that you should do, whether or not it's like the museum and then the pedestal and then the crown. They know where to take the best photos on Liberty
and
Island.
how to take the best photos. There's a couple of tricks about taking a good photo on Liberty Island.
One of them is that you really have to lie down. So one of my there's ways.
Megan likes to lie down. I like to use the panorama version on my camera or the 0.5. I actually like panorama better than 0.5. You use the panorama, you tip it on its side and then whoop.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
You went to art school.
I did. I went to art school for photography.
But I think, yes. And then I do think that whenever I take a tour, I make a point of walking to the front of Liberty Island. So you're right in front of the Statue of Liberty. I sit down on the ground. I take photos of people using whatever camera device they want. And I always joke that it's their Christmas card, but it could also be their billboard photo if you wanted to use the Welcome to Times Square billboard and throw it up there, because you just took an amazing photo at Statue of Liberty. Why not share it with the world? So timesquarebillboard.com.
Sure. Now, I also have a little photo tip, and I'm going to share this. I feel bad because I tell all my people whenever I go out there, which again is not very often. I say, I'm going to tell you a secret. Nobody else knows this, but now you know it. I think the best place to take a photograph in front of the statue is on the boat leaving Liberty Island. If you go, you're going to board the boat. One side is the dock. The other side is the water. Go to the water side. Go to an open deck, like the second deck, one flight up. And you're going to wait. The boat's going to pull out, turn around. And as soon as the boat turns around, you're going to have the side view of the statue with the skyline behind it. Take your photographs on the boat. Ask someone on the boat to help you with a picture. I think you're going to get your best photographs there because you've got this great perspective. It's almost like the impossible photograph that you see people selling Like in Times Square, there's these fake photographs or Photoshop photographs of the Statue of Liberty, and like the city is right behind her. And everyone's like, how do I get that photograph? And it's, you use Photoshop. You edit
do.
your photos so
Always
that the
like,
buildings are
oh.
giant, and so is the statue. But that's my favorite photograph of the statue. And so that's my little, my gift from me to you.
That is a golden nugget. And that for me is a prime example of why you want to take a tour. The guides know the best place to take the photographs, and you get to just enjoy it. There are so many tours that go to Liberty Island, and they're all phenomenal. I mean, I work for some companies, but I'm friendly with literally every guide who works for every company. And I think we're all equal. So just find one.
There's lots of different ways to do it. It's every different budget level has an option. And the higher you go in terms of the budget, the smaller your group is going to be. But there is no skip the line. There is no secret golden ticket.
This is so important. And if someone told you that it skipped the line, they are lying to you. They are lying to you. And
but the thing
what
is,
they are talking about is that you are skipping the line to buy a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're basically saying that like we went online and purchased it for you, which you can do as well. But I literally have been standing in this line with celebrities who are like, we had skipped the line. And I was like, no, you didn't.
Yep.
Nobody has skipped the line. There is no such thing as skip the line. Do not purchase your tour based on skip the line. Or maybe if the tour says skip the line, don't purchase from them because they're lying.
One of the things that I think is interesting is that no matter how good your guide is, there is a genuine possibility that one of those boats may leave even though you thought you were going to be on it, and you're going to have to wait for that next boat to show up, which will be 20 minutes. And the thing that I think is great about having a guide is, you said, it's not necessarily if you want to get deep into the history, but if you are standing on the pier for 20 minutes, that guide is going to be able to answer all of your questions, tell you some fantastic stories while you're waiting, so that you're not just sitting there trying to figure out how you can scoop up all of those handfuls of foreign coins that are just out of reach. That is a deep cut for statue insiders.
There is so much history in New York Harbor too. I mean, one of my favorite things, when I have groups, I'm usually talking to the group and giving, history of whatever we can see. And it is so
much that you can
rich.
see from there.
Yeah, there really is. I said it's not necessarily a history-rich tour, and that's because there's a lot of logistics of getting people onto a boat, spending time on the boat. But when we are talking about history, there's so
Deep
much there.
into it.
And then I love listening to other guides too. And sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, I just picked up a new bit of information that I didn't know.
I'm going to go home and fact check that and then use it.
Oh, yeah. Oh my goodness. I've just gotten so many wonderful golden nuggets from sometimes if my tour ends on an island and I'm going
hang
home
out
alone
and listen in a little.
and oh my goodness,
Me too.
It's just oh my goodness. And this is why I just think, honestly, I've yet to see anything less than stellar in terms of tour guides.
I think there's two, like we were saying, if you're doing a food tour, then having a guide handle all of the logistics is huge. The Statue of Liberty tour is that other place where the guide is going to make a difference, not just in terms of the narrative, but in terms of getting that stuff done. That is a ton of work for you to do and have it feel like it went well.
It's not even easy to like put it into a podcast or a video. Like I have a YouTube video about how to visit Statue of Liberty, but there's so many logistics that's very hard to put in any kind of like short, concise way. So just that's like one of the things where you just want to outsource
Hire a guide, outsource it. Don't
it.
Spend the time figuring it out for yourself.
Yeah, outsource it so you can enjoy your vacation or whatever you are doing while planning vacation. It'll make your life way easier. Now, we mentioned Ellis Island. Ellis Island is an interesting egg because people will often ask, is it worth it? Ellis Island is one of my favorite places in all of New York City. I am obsessed with immigration history. It is something that, unfortunately, tour guides aren't really allowed to give tours inside of Ellis Island.
But it's the sort of thing where a lot of tour guides will bring you there and explain to you, because it's actually fairly large. And especially if you're in a smaller group, that guide is going to be able to tell you based on what they know about you, you know where you should go. You should go up to the second floor on the west side and see the way the process worked, to see the photographs, to see the implements, the actual implements that immigration agents use to turn people's eyelids inside out to check for a disease called trachoma, the disease that my great grandmother thought she had, which is why she had to sneak in through Canada with her cousins, her teenage cousins.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like there's all of this fantastic stuff, all of this great information. I love Ellis Island too. And it, again, because I'm sort of a grouch about this, I always feel like I wish that it were easier. In a lot of ways, they're two separate experiences. The statue experience, and a lot of people go to the statue, they never get off the boat at Ellis Island, which, oh, I know it pains me to no end. And they skip Ellis Island. And so in some ways, that's great, because if you want to do Ellis Island, you do the statue, you walk around the grounds, you take a picture, you go to the museum, 25 minutes, maybe walk around the island. You're on the island for 30 minutes, let's say, and then you can go to Ellis Island and spend an hour looking in the museum, learning about how Ellis Island worked, learning about how immigration worked in the late 19th, early 20th century, learning about how immigration works today in the modern era, and then learning about all the people who came to America before Ellis Island. Those are 4 distinctly different sections, and you could easily spend, if you're a person who reads all the displays, you'd easily spend 3 hours there.
And I do want to
And it's
mention
fascinating.
that there are park rangers there who sometimes give tours. I've
Mhm.
learned every time I've taken some of their
Yep.
tours. And they also have interactive elements. First of all, you can get a junior ranger badge. So if you
Love
have
that.
kids, they have like these interactive activities that you can do. And one of the things when you were passing through Ellis Island, I think if people thought you looked insane, they would give you an intelligence
Yeah,
test,
if you looked like you didn't know where you were and what you were doing.
which I just think is, I mean, I could talk about immigration for hours. I'm like, I can only imagine how I would look after. I know how I look when I get off of a flight going to
Yeah,
France.
think about being on a boat for a week,
I'm
a
like,
week and a half.
I would definitely be given one of these intelligence tests by the immigration officials. But they're these puzzles that are actually quite challenging, and they'll give you the puzzles and you have to try to put the puzzles together. And I feel
My
like
favorite thing is, could you pass the citizenship test? There's a kiosk all the way over on the far side of the first floor, and you can try to answer some of those questions, see if you could do it.
and
If you weren't lucky enough to just be born here and be a citizen by birth.
a lot of school groups have will take when we have the giant school groups, we'll ask them if they can pass the citizenship test, and they will go into
Send
that
them over,
exhibition.
see if they're true.
And it's very rare that they can. And something else that you pointed out to me was right next to the citizenship test, there is
Mhm.
the oath to become president, right?
Yep.
And it's like, which one of these?
Oh, well, it's the oath to become a citizen. And if you know the presidential oath is like 2 sentences, and the oath to become a citizen is like epic. It's like way much more of a responsibility. You have to say the same thing that the president says, and then more, and then more, and then more.
It's just really, really fascinating. So I'm a huge fan of Ellis Island. And what normally happens with tour guides is we will set you up for like 30 minutes outside of Ellis Island. I've had some tour guides that give scavenger hunts in
Oh, yeah.
Ellis
Mhm.
Island, which is really fun, especially with student groups. I'm just going to give you one of the scavenger hunt things in case you go, which is to find the creepiest looking teddy bear that you've ever seen, that you might think is creepy, but it once meant everything to someone. So if you go to Ellis Island, see if you can find that teddy bear.
I don't think I know. I think once we're done with the show, you're going to tell me where that is. I think I know where it is.
I'll give you a
We're gonna
hint.
see.
It belonged to a girl named Gertrude. That's your hint.
That's not helpful whatsoever.
It will be helpful when you're in Ellis
All
Island.
right.
But I definitely think that Ellis Island's worth it. If I had my druthers, I would actually skip Statue and not get off at Statue, and I would only do Ellis Island. But we'll have to
Despite the
save,
fact that you love the statue.
despite the fact that I
Yeah.
love the statue. I do think that the statue is something that you could do from just like seeing it from the boat, if you know it's just something that you want to check off. And then Ellis Island is something that you really can't get anywhere else, and it helps you understand the United States, especially that modern eras, journeys, new eras of
Mhm.
immigration, that talks about what our immigration laws were while Ellis Island was open, what happened in 1924 that closed Ellis Island as an immigrant processing center, and then everything that's happened since 1924 through today. And there's a bunch of laws that I didn't know, Supreme Court cases that
Mhm.
I didn't know, and I think they do a really great job of reflecting every single opinion about immigration, whether or not you're like build a wall or open up all borders. I think they do a really great, fair job of representing.
I've heard that
all those points of
immigration is
view.
like a hot topic.
It is a hot topic,
Apparently people are talking about it.
but I think
And
that it's
I mean, there's no better place to learn about it than Ellis
right.
Island. It takes you through 400 years of immigration in the United States of America.
And I think that if you talk about immigration today, it's just really good to know where we came from and all of the steps that it took to get us to today. And then you can like make an informed
It's a
opinion.
process in constant flux, and Ellis Island really handles all the twists and turns and the secret things that you didn't know about immigration. You mentioned something, and I wanted to kind of circle around to this. Circling is, you said that you could see the Statue of Liberty from a boat, and we were talking about being selfish and, you know, saying, I don't want to go onto Liberty Island and spend 3 hours, but I do want to see the statue. I want to get a photograph in front of the statue, there are ways that you can do that. I mean, we were talking about this, and there's nothing wrong with saying, oh, I went out into the harbor, I got a great view of the Statue of Liberty. You can do a dinner cruise at night. Every boat cruise, every boat tour, I think, I'm really struggling to think of a single boat tour that does not stop in front of the Statue of Liberty.
I do think does the one to Bear Mountain, the fall foliage one?
We do, when you're coming from New Jersey. Actually,
Okay.
that's because one of those boats leaves from the Wall Street Pier, so we swing around and we go past the statue. We don't go right in front of her, but it is really unusual to get a boat tour that doesn't do that. And there are some that go specifically out into the harbor to put you in front of the statue. So that is a great option. A lot of those boats have great narrators and are a lot of fun. And so that is a great way to say, you know, like, and you can even do it for free. A lot of those are affordable. Some of them are fancier, and I think they're worth it. I've been on some of those fancier boats. You've done a dinner
My
cruise.
favorite is the City Experiences Bateau Premier Dinner Cruise. And oh my goodness, it's still one of my favorite evenings that I've had in New York
They
City.
should give you a discount code to hand out.
They should. I don't have one. But me and David did a little date night there, and I still think really, really happy thoughts about that.
And you could do it for free. I mean, this is the other thing too, is that the Staten Island ferry is free. It's another scam that you see there. Sometimes people will try to charge visitors for the Staten Island ferry. Staten Island ferry goes across the harbor to one of the other boroughs, which is Staten Island, and it goes in front of the statue. It does not stop. It does not get close. But if you just want an hour on the water, hour, 15 minutes on the water, you don't want to spend any money, the Staten Island ferry is a great option. You can take there's all sorts of different choices.
We'll do a whole episode about different boat cruises.
Oh, good.
But I do want to talk real fast because you mentioned the scams. And we promised that we would do a thing on scams. And scams are, I really think that people going to visit Statue of Liberty are like prime targets for scammers.
Because it's so confusing.
And I just want to address, it's funny, I talked to someone from the NYPD and they said the number one thing that I would tell people visiting New York City is to ignore all of the ticket sellers who are waiting around the Staten Island ferry, the people in vests who are telling you that they are who to buy the ticket from. Now, I do want
for the Staten Island ferry, for the Statue of Liberty ferry, there's everybody down there. And it's not necessarily the companies who own the boats who are giving the tours. This is typically a third party that's doing ticket sales for commissions, and they can present some troubles.
Now, I do want to be very clear and say that I'm sure that there are some people who have bought a ticket for Statue City Cruises through these third parties and have not spent more money than they would have buying direct. I'm sure that this has happened before. But what typically happens is they'll either add a lot of money to the ticket price. So you're overpaying. I've heard them saying that they needed to be tipped after the end of a sale, which kind of surprised me. But what I've also observed a lot of is just flat out lying about what the ticket is and what the ticket entails. I've literally walked past them lying, and I've also, unfortunately, when I was working on some of these boats, I've heard customers who were very upset because a man in a vest told them that the boat docked at the Statue of Liberty. A man in the vest told them that the boat included a helicopter tour. I kid you not. I heard, and I was like, you really thought you were buying a helicopter tour and a boat ride for $32, $20? But the thing is,
I had a person thought that they were going to own the Brooklyn Bridge after they bought the tickets.
You really, they descend upon you as soon as you come out of the subway. I've even seen them trying to sell these in Times Square, but you really want to buy direct. I do think the passes like City Pass, New York Pass, those are totally legit. Know that you aren't going to get Pedestal or Crown access. That's ground access. But if you see that on your City Pass, that is totally legit. I recently bought City Pass just to test it out, and I thought I was going to hate it, and I loved it, and I'm now a big fan of City Pass. So I think that buying it via City Pass is totally fine.
There's really two places that you need to know how to get to, maybe just one in Battery Park. One of them is to go get your tickets at Castle Clinton, and if you've already pre-purchased your tickets, skip that unless you have Crown access and you need to pick up your Crown pass. If you have your tickets on your phone, you've just got grounds pass to the Statue of Liberty, go straight to the security tent. It's in a new location. They're doing construction down in Battery Park now. Can't remember if we mentioned this already. So things are going to look different if you have not been to the Statue of Liberty like this year in 2024,
like this month, it just changed
in March. So you're going to go to the security tent. It's a little further over to the east. It is still in Battery Park. You go to the security tent, you get in the line, you're going to wind back and forth. You're going to go in, you're going to take off your jacket, your empty your pockets, take your belt off, your wallet out, and then you're going to get on another line to wait to get on the boat. You don't go right onto the boat. You got to go through security first. And if you don't need to pick up a ticket or anything extra, go straight to security. You don't need to talk to anybody in the park who's not a ranger, who's not the NYPD. Most of those people are out there trying to sell you something. And if you don't need to buy anything, you don't need to talk to them. Say, thank you. I'm all set. Appreciate your help. I'm on my way. Don't need your help. I'm good. Have a great day.
Perfect. We don't want anybody listening to our podcast to fall for a scam.
Nope.
All right.
Because we want you to have your most marvelous visit to New York City.
We do. All right. Do you have any final thoughts about Statue?
You know, talking about the statue with you now actually makes me feel a little better about the statue. And I kind of want to go see it now.
Yay.
I'm not so much of a grouch anymore. How about you? Any final thoughts?
I love the Statue of Liberty. I would be honored to take you to the Statue of Liberty. Again, if you want to book a tour, visit mostmarveloustours.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure that you click subscribe. And if you think someone could benefit from this information, please feel free to share. I hope that you had a most marvelous time listening, and we hope you have most marvelous travels.
Talk to you soon.